Hello. So today I want to talk about some of the things about the consumption culture that I try not to participate in. So I choose rest over stimulation, and no longer do I feel guilty for that. For the quiet time that I need, for the time that it takes me to recharge, for having a very empty schedule because I want and need that, for not constantly trying to outperform myself or others, for not striving to be productive all the time. And I don't feel embarrassed anymore for not having a full scheduled weekend, but rather an empty one most of the time. This is just how I prefer it, and I don't really feel the fear of missing out anymore. I know that my nervous system is not made to be in stimulating environments all the time, and that I need lots of rest. And I do not feel the need to be in crowded places all the time, or places with lots of noise or busy traffic, and having to be on all the time. And I'm so thankful that I don't feel that pressure anymore to keep up with all of it, and that I can just rest, recharge, and create when I need to. I gave myself permission to have quiet and easy weekends where I enjoy the small things, like reading a book, doing something creative, just drinking coffees and having slow mornings and slow days. I like to occasionally visit an art museum or something like that, or to have a small meetup with someone, a walk with a friend, or a coffee with a friend, but I would not be able to do this every weekend. I do notice that sometimes I have more space to do a bit more and to be more social, and other times I have longer periods in which I need to rest a lot, and I cannot do much more beside that. But I just try to listen to what I need as much as I can. And I also just accepted that my need for constant stimulation is much lower than the average person's need for stimulation, and that is okay. And I just need stillness, I need time to recharge, I need time to be creative or just to think and daydream. And only a completely empty day can do that for me. And the second one is that I'm not available 24/7. And I don't want to be part of the emergency culture where we expect each other to be available 24/7. I just can't keep up with that, and for me it's difficult to find back my focus, concentration, rest, or flow whenever I hear a notification, even if I don't look or even if I ignore it. And I do check my phone on a regular basis because I do not want to miss an emergency or someone really needing something. But at least then I can make space for it mentally when I look at it, and I do not lose concentration, and it's less exhausting. And it started when I worked at a restaurant where the planning was pretty awful and they always underscheduled. So when something happened, which almost always did, when it was busier than expected or when someone got sick or injured, they would frantically call me and text me and stalk me, and this just gave me so much stress because it was just a matter of planning, and it was not that I was an emergency doctor signed up to be on hold and being paid for that. It was none of those things. So ever since that workplace, I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. And standing firm on this has caused me trouble in workplaces. 24/7 accessibility is unfortunately part of many companies and of burnout culture in general. And then I'm not even talking about all the group chats and all the apps and forced online engagements that are being expected in the free hours that I had. And I've been punished in unofficial ways by managers and bosses, so I am well aware that standing firm on this is not something everyone can just do. It's not a risk everyone can just take. We're not talking about a mindset, we're talking about real life, and the consequences are real. Livelihood can be threatened, and I've paid for it too. I've been punished for it, but I just can't do it. I cannot be available 24/7 and I cannot deal with all these unexpected requests all the time. I found that conversations about this, putting boundaries and those kind of things never have worked, so eventually it was just putting my phone on Do Not Disturb as a last sort of boundary. And to be honest, ever since then, I have my phone on Do Not Disturb most of the time. Only if I expect something important or if I know that something is going on with someone, I take it off. And it does scare me to miss an emergency call, so I do check it frequently. And then another point is that consumption drains me. For me, consumption in most of its forms is exhausting and not really energizing. And I mean this with shopping, but also the excessive going out, the partying, and also excessive eating in restaurants and going to wellnesses and just every form of consumption in excessive forms. I myself even dread small necessary things like going to the hairdresser, and none of these things feel relaxing for me. So I try to reduce it as much as I can. Usually I just go 2 or 3 times in a year to the hairdresser. And I have never done my nails somewhere. I can just trim them at home and put nail polish on if I want to. And I can do that while watching something that I enjoy and while I have my sparkling water and everything. So this just really works very well for me. I understand that taking care of ourselves and occasional need for some other things, and that for some people these things are fun or even important. I understand that. I think that's valid, but I personally don't enjoy most of these consumption things, even the experience ones not. And I myself, I can never truly enjoy eating out somewhere because I just know how overworked the staff is, because I've been part of the staff in many different places, and most of the times it's just the place where companies try to cut costs. So I know that most of the people who do the labor are doing the labor of 3 people at least, and that they are really overworked and underpaid. And part of it is just an aversion that I always had for those kind of things. I never felt quite comfortable, but it really grew stronger after I have worked in those kind of places myself and just seen how it is and seen the reality of it. And I like other forms of relaxation or leisure. And sometimes, of course, I do use some form of consumption. It's not about doing never those kind of things. It's about that I try to be conscious about them and not going in the extremes or excessive modes with any form of consumption. I understand some social gatherings, a bit of socializing, and that it's necessary and enjoyable. But I try to not overdo it. And I like the calmer places, and things that I like doing more are walking in nature and also just somewhere nearby, somewhere that I can drive to or that I can take the train, somewhere in the Netherlands or Belgium. I don't need to cross the world several times a year. I love exploring cities and landscapes closer by. And I especially love water and the beach and going to art museums or art galleries, art openings and so forth. And on very few occasions I meet up with people in places to have coffee with them, mostly to just catch up. But I'd rather meet people in museums or I'd rather go for walks with them. But I do all these things occasionally. And I also really love spending time alone, creating, thinking, reading, and I love the small ordinary daily things the most. Coming home after work, giving my rabbit a pat on his head and having a coffee. There's nothing that can top this experience. And having a nice cooked warm meal and a clean home. And these are the things that bring me the most joy, and these things take up time too. And I keep my schedule empty for them because they matter to me. And I feel deep pain and empathy for people, animals, and nature being used for excessive consumption. I feel for the workers giving away their life energy and barely making ends meet, for the animals in the bio industries and just what we do with nature in all of its forms. And because of this, there is always an underlying feeling that I cannot push away. And this feeling is always there, whether I'm being served something or somewhere like in restaurants, or whether I'm using a product. And I do have things that I truly like phones and laptops, and the product itself enriches my life. But there's always this underlying feeling when I use it. knowing very well what the real cost of it was. And so even though I like the product, there is this underlying feeling of its origin and of the suffering behind that. And it's a reason why I prefer secondhand, and especially for clothes and furniture. And yes, sure, there must have been some pain there too, but I feel the heaviness of it less if I give it a second life. Nothing can match the scale of mass production and the scale of bioindustry and all those things of trying to keep up with something that is unsustainable and way too excessive, in my opinion. And the cost is not worth it, I find. And the last thing is the mentality, the consumption mentality. All those slogans, the just do it mentality and the you can do it, just keep on going, always pushing for something more. And the mentality of always running and always striving for more or better, never really being content with what is or with the simple things. And that for the most part it's about impressing others, to prove yourself, and where the emphasis also really is put on endurance and having to keep on going no matter what the cost is, as if that is noble. And this kind of mentality and these kind of slogans just feel very off for me. I don't share this mentality. I love presence, I love reflections and slow living, and I love resting, I love quitting things that don't serve me and so forth. In most cases, I love less of the things, less of the mentalities and so forth. And I just want to opt out as much as I can in all of this consumption culture, and I just don't really want to participate. So these are some of the problems that I have with overconsumption and the emphasis on overconsumption and excessive consumption in general. And let me know what yours are and if you can relate to this or if you have different thoughts about it. And I'm curious to hear that. And thanks so much for watching. See you next time.